and insightful writings of St. Ignatius are very great inspiration for grassroots leaders like Father Rudilio Grande, Father Stan Swami, Father A.T. Thomas in very many ways. I shall elucidate only the three sources of inspiration, though there are many. Firstly, Ignatian leadership begins with self-leadership, which has its foundation on the tool called examine, an everyday checkpoint to match your talk with your walk. Self-awareness is the fruit of examine in understanding one's strength, weakness, values and worldviews. Self-awareness paves the way for ordering one's own life based on everyday enlightenment. It is equivalent to what Dr. Ambedkar said, educate, which means that you bring to the senses of a slave that he is held captive, he would surely retaliate as the impact of his self-realization. It is the self-talk that becomes pep talk to St. Ignatius to realize himself fully in the presence of God when he was at sickbed, at River Cardona and other important moments of his life. From this we learn that if we want to change the world, then first start the change from yourself. Any change must start from within. No external force would hinder your inner fire. Only the person who has the fire within can withstand any battleground. It is the self-affirmation that rocks everyone to travel to the dreamland. Many people want others to raise them to the pedestals. You know that it cannot be Ignatian. If you are able to elevate yourself to the pedestals, then it is Ignatian leadership. The second source of inspiration is the colloquy in the spiritual exercises, namely imagining Christ on the cross, asking oneself, what I have done for Christ, what I am doing for Christ, what I ought to do for Christ, which are the navigator for the grassroots leaders. The same essence is capsuled in Dr. Ambedkar's dictum, agitate, which invites the grassroots leaders to morally respond to today's reality of the marginalized, the crucified people. Every grassroots leader makes oneself relevant by responding regularly with apostolic aggressivity to the needs and rights of the deprived people. St. Ignatius' inner journey confirmed his outer journey to Rome. His inner conviction propelled him and his first companions to commit themselves to the Roman pontiff for any ministry in the world. The three-question colloquy demands a perpetual response to God's will and to serve his dearest people, the Dalits and the marginalized. The third source of inspiration is contemplation to gain love, an exercise in the fourth week of the spiritual exercises, which denotes seeing God in all things, in the all things God, and the God of history who works and labors for me in all things created on the face of the earth. This exercise encourages everyone seeing God in your brother, in your sister, in your neighbor, in nature, and all the more seeing the suffering God in your suffering brother, in your suffering sister, in your suffering neighbor, and in the suffering nature. This inspires every Jesuit to become grassroots leaders with a union of mind and heart for the unified communitarian mission. In Ambedkar's thought, it can be paraphrased as organize. This Ignatian insight invites the grassroots leaders to spiritually organize and instill the kingdom values to become men and women for others who would promote and nourish the contagious community leadership and thus enable others to become self-motivated and appropriate the mission for themselves in the salvific work of God. Drawing inspiration from St. Ignatius, who felt with Catholic Church in her difficult times, I strongly feel that we, the Jesuits and others, are called to be grassroots leaders and we are to lead all the time. The grassroots leadership springs from within. It is about who one is as much as what one does. Therefore, the leadership is not an act, but it is a way of living, and it is an ongoing process, intelligently learning and innovatively responding to the changing world.